All right, let's get started. My name is Tina Gavrigic, and I am Northern Stamper. If you need to reach me for any reason, please drop me an email at northernstamper@gmail.com. Now, today we're going to be using the Something Fancy bundle, which includes the stamp sets, which are found on page 15 of the January to April mini catalog. This is fantastic. I just love the scripts on this, and it can be used for a lot of things. I really like this one where I forgot your birthday. I thought that was really funny. We are also using the Something Fancy dies, and these are basically label dies, and you know what? You always got to grab a label die. They are always fantastic, so useful for many things, and the bundle altogether is $63.75. So if you want to order anything or you have any questions, drop me an email at northernstamper@gmail.com. All right, so the items I've already posted for the supplies that you need, so let's get started. I do have to mention that even though I did package everything up for you, you may need to have an extra piece of basic white cardstock, and this is 4 inches by 5 1/4. It's just a possibility. I may have forgotten, but I'd rather have you notice that you may need some basic white cardstock as opposed to it not being in the package and you just rummaging around. Okay, so let's get started. I just love this card. This is going to be a fancy fold card. So get your trimmer out and let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start with the piece of cardstock in our landscape mode. We're going to start with our piece, half piece of Orchid Oasis cardstock. Now it's already a half piece, so if you would take 2, it would make a full sheet. What we're going to do is we are actually going to cut this down. We're going to put it in portrait mode and cut it at 4 1/4. So we're going to do that. We're going to take off a little bit off to the side, so cut 4 1/4, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in landscape mode and put a score line at 5 1/2. So we want to do that. We're going to score that at 5 1/2. So make sure you score and not cut. Just always double check. So I have that scored. And what's going to happen is this is going to have a little bit taken off. So that is exactly what we want to see. Okay. Now in your package is a piece of designer series paper that is 2 1/2. So if I measure it's 2 1/2 by 4. And what I want to do is I want to lay that on top and just double check. So there is a very thick line around the edge on the left and right, and if you want to take that down a little bit, just take it down by 1/4 of an inch, okay, and then it will fit in. So there we go. So now it looks a lot better. So we want to have that in there. Also, so I don't want to lose my papers, I'm going to actually glue that down so I don't lose it. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of Seal Plus, my favorite adhesive, and we're just going to pop that on the front because I don't know about you, but I always lose things in my packages and everything, and it just gets a little bit frustrating. So we have this part done, and I think if you know what we're going to do, you're right, it is called a joy fold. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the other piece of cardstock. There should be another piece. And this is already pre-cut properly for you, and it's to 3 inches. And it's really, I think it was like 8 1/2 or whatever. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to score that at the 5-inch mark. We're going to take it back to 5 inches, and we're going to score that. Now, yes, it's going to be, a really big fold underneath, but that's okay. If you want to save some of this cardstock, just cut it off. You only need about 1 inch to adhere it to the back of the card piece that we're going to do. So this is where the basic white piece I may have forgotten. I do apologize. I'm very sorry if I did. We're just going to kind of layer that on top. You'll see it goes all the way across. And if I'm going to put it on, now this is going to go all the way across. That's okay. I'm going to take out my piece that does not have a notch. You're going to notice that you have two pieces of DSP. One with a notch. Anything with a notch is your scrap paper. So you want to have that. So there's this piece that does not have a notch. And okay, if I place it on, there's a little bit I'm going to cut off on the left side. So I want you just to double check. And we're just going to cut off a little bit. And that's probably also roughly about 1/8. So we're going to cut that off. And I'm going to double check. I'd rather double check than try and glue it back on. So perfect. That was 1/8. Perfect. Looking great. And we're not going to glue this on yet because we need to do some stamping. So in the meantime, let's get our piece of basic white. All right, so we've got our basic card, our card base, and I'm going to glue this or tape this on the back. All right, and I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to add just a little piece of tape just to hold it in place. In the meantime, you'll notice that it kind of flips open. I like to put a little piece of tape and then glue because I find that if I do need to make some modifications, I can always pull off the tape. It makes it much easier. All right, so we have this. And what we're going to do is with our piece that goes on top, not the notched piece, remember the little notch is the scrap, I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the front here. And what I'm going to do is you can either use your scrap. There should be a couple of extra scraps in there, but I'm going to stamp it on the scrap, and then I use the dies to make the label. So let's stamp on the scrap piece of paper. Okay, and I'm going to use basic black. So I'm going to use basic black for the stamping. Now, what you want to do is take a look at the sentiments that you have and find the one that suits the one that you want. And also, if you have the dies, match it to see what it looks like. So there are some in here. They are fantastic. And when you're looking at the box, you can see that there should be 12 dies in this set. Okay, so you should have about 12. I think I have some taken out, but let's go take a look for them. So there are 12 in here, and what I'm going to do is pull in my stamp. And I'm going to see which one I want to use. So there are a few that would work really, really well. So I really like this thank you one. Or I could always place on, I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching it out, celebration. Oh, that looks really good with this die around it. What if you know what you can also do is, let's see, if there's a larger one, we can cut that out with cardstock and make a mat. So I don't know which one to go with. There are just so many different great ones that you can choose. With Deepest Sympathy would work really well. There, that one fits on, and then we could mat it with that one. Wow, these are fantastic. All right. I think what I'm going to do is grateful for the everyday magic for you. I'm going to stamp that on a piece of scrap white. Double check that it matches in the die. Okay, so let's do that. So this is where it's always good to have a piece of scrap paper around with you. So I see this scrap fits right on. So I could use white, or I can use this piece that I have inside. Now I think I'm going to save this piece for the shape around. I'm going to, as an accent. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm going to stamp on a piece of basic white. Really, it is totally up to you. Don't forget, this is your card, and it doesn't, nothing says that you can do something different. Always, you know, it's always good to try something different. And if you don't like what the sentiment turns out, that's okay. Just, heck, stamp another one. Works great. So let's get that in there. And I'm going to die cut this out on the machine. There we go, fit that one in. And the other one, I am going to have die cut this piece of designer series paper out. So let's go die cut that out. There we go, with the magic of video, we have that done. I'm going to put my dies back in the box, close it up, make sure they don't go anywhere. I don't want to lose any of them. Right? And look at that. That's going to fit right on there. Looks fantastic. Now, if you don't like it, that it looks kind of like watercolor on watercolor, that's okay. Die cut this out in a cardstock if you like to make it pop. So I'm going to do that too and show you the difference. So I have this die cut out in Orchid Oasis. I just love this color. It is fantastic. On the video it may not show as Orchid Oasis, but it is a very beautiful color. And see, if you pop it up with that, it definitely gives a different vibe there. Or you can even do 3 if you want. Kind of offset it a little bit and do 3 like that. But I think the Orchid Oasis just by itself is going to actually make it stand out a little better. Now, if you're not too crazy about the Something Fancy stamp set, which I don't know why, definitely look at the Something Fancy dies, because that is something that you can use constantly and not, you know, it is great for labels. Now let's get this card placed together and let's get started. So what I'm going to do first is actually I'm going to place some adhesive on the back of my sentiment so I don't lose it, and I'm going to place that right on top there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my ribbon, there's a piece of gold ribbon, and I'm going to wrap it around the designer series paper that I have. Okay, and I'm going to put a little piece on. Now, there is a little piece of a flower in there if you like. Now, if you want, this is totally up to you. You can glue it off to the side there, or you could just leave it off. I'm going to put that on later because I'm not putting any adhesive behind this ribbon, but I can still slip it in. Now, this ribbon should be long enough that you can make a shoelace knot, or if you're really good, a bow. So I'm going to just tape that down. So I have it around here, and I can still slip this piece in, and I think I'm going to add it because I really, really like that flower. The flower you have may be slightly different. It depends on the DSP piece that you receive. So I'm just going to slip that in, and it should fit right in the corner there. Okay. Now, I want to place the sentiment on. Now it's going to go on, you can either do it on top or below. So again, I'm going to add my little knot. This is why I don't like gluing things down completely, so I can move things around. So I'm going to make a little shoelace knot. Okay. And I can decide, do I want to tuck that in underneath? I think that looks really nice, or if I want to place it on top and slide this guy over. So I'm not sure, but I really like it underneath, so I think I'm going to have it kind of overlapping a little bit on each side to give it some dimension there. So let us get our dimensionals and pop up that sentiment. Okay, even though it's going to be under the ribbon, I want to give it a little bit of height. Let's add that underneath. Again, making sure it straddles the little bit on that side. And I'm going to actually slide my shoelace knot right underneath. There we go. Tighten it up. Trim up the ends so that they're angle cut. Oops, things are getting away from me. And let's go back to our card-based pieces. So now I can actually add this on to the flap that will go on the front. Okay, so I'm going to add that. It fits, everything's looking good, and I can add that to the front. So I'm going to just add some Seal Plus and add that down. Okay, there we go. Now before you do that, you're going to notice that there's a piece of green. Now it is totally up to you if you want to add that piece of green kind of like an offset. Maybe you want to offset it so it's on your card like that, or this way. What I've decided to do is I'm going to cut some very small strips off this piece, and I'm going to make 2 strips, and they're just kind of like 1/2 inch, and I'm going to add it to the top and the bottom of that card stock. Oops, let's get that going. Again, check it, see if it fits. Oh, it does. It looks fantastic. And I'm just going to add that to the top and the bottom. All right. I want to decorate the card. Now, you're going to see why I'm doing that is because when it folds closed, you will see this little bit of green peeking out. And I want to have a space that I can write a sentiment inside, have my little note. But I want to have a little bit of that green peeking out. So there, we're just going to add that. So you can use that piece of green for background, or just little strips like I do, or even actually maybe even the tag part if you like. So that fits in. Okay, I can see that that's working. There we go. And I'm going to just glue that down now. This is one of my favorite card designs. I think it's always so pretty, and it's such a great card to get because it's like a little surprise. So let's add that on, and let's take a look. So this folds closed, and then this folds on top. And let us add a little bit of our rhinestones on there. Put them on. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And if you want a little bit of Wink of Stella on some of this flower, looks fantastic, gives a little bit of sparkle. Wow, that looks fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed this card. I'd love to see how yours turned out. Make sure you post it in either community page or, oh, look at that sparkle. If you have any questions, don't forget northernstamper@gmail.com, and don't forget Something Fancy, and definitely the Something Fancy dies. Always, if you're going to try, if you're going to buy it as a bundle. You do get 10% off, and you'll be surprised how many times that you use these items together. Any questions, drop me an email, Northern Stamper. Until next time, my friends, keep safe and keep stamping.